Okay, this is the mid-chapter review for 1-1 to 1-5, Chapter 1, page 45. Number 1 is P. It says name another point that is collinear with point U and V. So U and V in the same line would be P. That's the only answer. For number 2, what is another name for plane Y? Plane Y is the blue plane. So it says what's another name for it? So you could use the capital letter in the corner, but they already did that. So we have to use 3 non-collinear points. So I usually put it in alphabetical order, RST. For number 3, name a line that is coplanar with points P, Q, and W. So we have P over here, Q over here, and W here. The quickest way to name, it says name a line that is coplanar with points P, Q, and W. So we got to name a line. So first of all, P, Q, and W are on the green plane, plane X. So what's a line drawn on that plane? This one's drawn through it, so that's no good. This one's on both, so that's good. And it's actually drawn, so that is what I say is the best answer. It's kind of broke up here because of the picture. The best answer is I always put the one drawn if it's drawn. I would also accept any 2 points on this green plane. So if you put QS or QR or QP, it doesn't say it has to be drawn on the plane, but the best one is when they're drawn. Don't forget to put your line with 2 arrows above. Okay, so now we're gonna have to do some work and some drawing. Okay, first of all, make sure you draw your line correctly. It doesn't matter if it's exactly in between to the left or to the right, as long as you get the relationship right. So I have A here, C here, and B has to be in between. I don't know if it's directly in between or to one side or not, but it has to be in between. Label your drawing. Then substitute in the values. So again, we learned segment addition, which is part plus part equals the whole. That's it for geometry. The rest is all algebra. Plug in AB, plug in BC, plug in AC. Now, if you still need to put the line, put the line. And it's important on this one because a lot of people try to add 2 to 12 or subtract 12 from the -2. They're on the same side, so you don't do the opposite. So I'm just going to combine those two. So 12 minus 2 is a positive 10. I always do what's on one side or the other side first. If I can combine something on one side before I start moving, I always do that first. So I'm going to get the x's together. Divide by 2. Now in geometry, they always try to trick you. Well, they don't always try to, but it asks for 2 things up here. Find AC, X and AC. So we just found X. So that's half of the answer. You have to put that in the answer box. So now over here, I'm going to find AC. That is 10x. 10, plug in what we just got. Okay, and then I want to go back and look for units. In this problem, there is no units. Some books will write units. This book normally does not. So just a number, if there's no units given, is good. Any questions on number 4? Okay, I will be checking your work, so make sure you write it all out. If I just see this, I know something's going to be fishy. Okay, you see all the work that needs to be done. Okay, again, very similar. Still the same direction, so this is number 5. We have A, B, C. Oh, also, let me back up a second here. You could also check this problem. If you take this 5 and plug it in up here, 8 times 5 is 40. 40 minus 2 is 38. And then to check the problem to make sure you got it right, add these two together, it better equal the whole thing. And that's part of our understand, plan, solve, check, UPSC. Understand what you're doing, make a plan, solve it, and then plug it back in to check it. Okay, here we got it with number 5. Again, we have A. I'm going to spread it out a little bit here. B, C. Okay, A, B. I'm going to do it labeled a little different this time. I'm going to put the 5x up here. And I'm going to put the 9x minus 2. And then the whole thing is 11x plus 7.6. Part plus part equals whole. Substitute. Okay, again, we have the on one side, so don't do the opposite. Some people try to take this over here right away. I always do what's on one side first. So I'm going to combine these two. They're on the same side, so don't do the opposite. Okay, now there's nothing I can do on either side, so I'm going to combine, try to make it positive. The book's going to stop putting this. If you need to keep putting it, keep putting it. If you want me to keep putting it, let me know. If not, I'm going to stop putting it too. I'm going to assume we know we minus 11x from both sides. That's how we get 3x minus 2 here. That canceled out, so it left me 7.6. We add the 2. Again, I'm not writing out that step. Divide by 3. 3.2. Now remember, that's only 50% of the answer. Ask us to find A, C. Okay, here's where I would use calculator work. I did not provide calculators. I don't provide calculators in geometry. But if you want a calculator, I can get you one. I have them available at school. Just let me know. They'll be available at the front desk. And then I will provide you one. No problem. We'll just get your name on it and sign it out to you. So 11 times 3.2. Also, remember you have a calculator on your computer and probably on your phone. I wouldn't recommend doing it the long way here. I'm not here trying to test your arithmetic. I'm seeing it'll cost you a lot of time. Yes, it'll say inches, centimeters, something like that. It'll be in the problem. The question was, will it tell us if there's a unit? And the answer was, it'll be in the problem. If I erase too quick, let me know, guys. I'm trying to move along here. I can always go back. Okay, the quick way here, again, sorry for the fuzzy graphic. This is at -9. This is 5. Some people just like to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and go on down the line. Well, it starts to get a little long after a while. So I would recommend you use the formula. Make sure you use the correct formula. So the formula for midpoint is find the midpoint. What do? Add them together and divide by 2. Now this is a number line, so you don't use the XY formula. You just use the X. X1 plus X2 equals, divided by 2. Since that's a fraction, I'm going to work it sideways instead of vertically. It doesn't matter which is which. So I'm going to do it the way you guys would probably do backwards. You would probably name that one X1. I'm just going to show you it works the other way. Remember, we plus here, we minus when we go for we minus when we go for use distance formula. So right now I have 5 plus -9. Whenever I have two signs, I put the parentheses. That equals -4 over 2. And then if I put my point at -2, does that look like it's in the middle? Yeah, it looks like it's right. That would be your check. Understood what to do. You made the equation. You plugged it in. You solved it. Or the plan was, you understood what they were talking about, midpoint. The plan was you used the right formula. Then you solved it. And then to check it, to kind of make sure it's right, the only way to check it is to graph it. And if you wanted to, you could do this double count thing where you count 1, 1, 2, 2, make sure it's in the middle. Okay, I'm going to show you guys a cheat. And then I'm going to show you the right way to do it. If you look up here and you count from here to here, if it gives you the graph, you can use this little cheat. It is up from just vertically 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's 4. If I take half of that, it's 2, right? So if I just go up 2 from this point vertically and straight across, you see how I am at, if I go up 2, it's there. Then I go over, it's there. So that's my vertical. It's up 2. I know it's going to be somewhere along here. And then I could cheat by going over this way, and I could just count. Over till I get to there. Well, how many is that? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6. So if I go over 3, 1, 2, 3, and then make my line up, where those two cross is the midpoint. You really don't have to do math that way. You can kind of cheat it. That's called solve by doing it graphically. That's for midpoint. Get to that in a second. Now, the proper way to do it mathematically using your algebra is add them together, divide by 2. So the formula, I'm just going to write it out for this one, is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. Remember, my x's are always first. Come on, don't combine them here. We combine them in distance. Y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. Don't forget the over 2 as well. Okay, so I'm going to label the point on the 1, 0.1, the one on the right, 0.2. You could do it either way, it still works out. So I'm going to say -2 plus 4 all over 2. And I'm just going to solve that one out real quick. 2 over 2 equals 1. Now I know that's only my x. A midpoint is a point. That means it has to have an x and a y. The y's, -3 plus 1 is -2 over 2. Any questions? Because it was one-dimensional. Okay, the question was, why did we only use the x's up here, but we used x and y's down here? As you can see, this one only goes across. We call that one dimension. But now we have length and width. So now we're in two-dimensional space. So that's why we have to use both of them. We have not just an x-axis, we also have a y-axis. And this should have parentheses around it, the formula. Okay, now it asks for two parts here. Find the midpoint, and if you only do that, that's half credit again. We also have to find distance. Distance is square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus in the middle and don't forget your squares. All right, again, I'm going to make this one 0.1, this one 0.2. So the x of my second one is 4 minus from the formula, up double sign, -2 squared. Y of my second point, minus from the formula, double negative, so I'm going to put the parentheses, squared. Don't forget your big square root. I usually put it after I write all my work. Go ahead. That we solve for midpoint. It asks for two things here. It says find midpoint and the length, which means distance. So there's two parts to the question. Okay, 4 plus 2. I think you guys were taught to do that. I don't need parentheses around that because it's positive. 1 plus 3 is 4. I don't need to put the parentheses. If you put them, it's not wrong. It's just extra work. Common mistake I see from my beginning algebra students is they say 6 squared. Oh, square root, that's going to be 6. You can't do that. You have to do the work inside first. It's just like a parenthesis. It is what we call a grouping symbol. I know we say, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally all the time, but technically it should be any grouping symbol, which is a fraction bar, a square root, parentheses, brackets. There's a lot of different grouping symbols. But okay, so we got 36 plus 16. Okay, now normally we use distance. That's what we did in algebra, but here it actually means something. So what are we looking for? We're looking for the points from Q to P, so technically I should put Q to P. It's a distance, so no line over it, no arrows, no ray, no nothing. And that's a distance. Again, no units because we're just in units. Wow, that doesn't look like our answer. You haven't been taught this. You didn't get in algebra probably far enough to simplify radicals. Um, there is a way to do that, but this is the answer I'm looking for. Square root of 52. If you want to put it on a calculator and get the decimal and round it, notice the approximately equal sign. That equal sign up here is wavy. That means we rounded it. In your calculator, you're going to get a much larger number. Okay. I'm going to let you guys work on number 8 on your own. I'm going to skip it. It's the same format, just some different numbers. Okay, this is the same thing, but now we can't use the cheat. Look how big our graph would have to be, 26. Yeah, if you used a full big sheet of graph paper, you could probably graph this out, but now you have 42. So now we're probably going to run off the graph paper. So we can't use graph paper here. So to find the midpoint, what do? Add them together, divide by 2. So it's the same thing as the previous one. It's just giving us the coordinates rather than the graph. Okay, I had 9. Somebody asked for 9. Do you still need to see that one? Oh, I want to give you the answers. Yep. I gotcha. Okay, so if you do that, the answer is 1727. Remember, midpoint is always a point, an X and a Y. And then if you do the distance formula where you subtract them, add them together, and square root them, you get this number. What's weird about this? Why would it have the point 0? Well, in math, when you see a point 0, that's usually an indicator it's rounded. We know 35.0 is just 35. So why didn't they just write the answer at 35? Probably because it was like 0.046, something like that. So if you see a point 0, that usually means it's rounded. And they should have approximately equal that wavy equal sign here as well. The book's kind of wrong here. They should have, that's a rounded answer. Normally we round to tenths or hundredths. So that's good enough for us. Okay, so what would I do for this one? First thing I would do is break out a sheet of graph paper. I don't have one on this computer yet. So I'm gonna have to do it the old fashioned, let's just fake it till we make it. -5, 7, I'm gonna say it's here. I would label that -5, 7. Also, my daughter told me the other day she was in class and the teacher was writing in yellow. And she couldn't see it. And she had her hand raised and the teacher didn't call on her. If you ever can't see anything, speak right up. Say, hey, yeah, that's a bad background or a bad mix of colors. I can't see it on my computer because sometimes they're different. And then we have 3, 1. Now, I'm going to label this one the town hall T. I'm just going to use one capital letter. And I'm going to label this one over here high school H. I always try to make it relative to what it's talking about, what it's referring to. Okay, now it says the high school is the midpoint. Oh, I labeled those backwards, didn't I? I sure did. This is the town hall, T, and this is the high school, H. Now, this is what I told you that was on your last quiz that is not going to be graded. It gives you the midpoint. It says the high school is the midpoint. Well, you could cheat this to get the right answer. And all you do is count down and over to the next point, then do that again. So if I count how many down do I and over do I have to go to the next point? Down 4, sorry, down 6, because we're going from 7 to 1. So that's down 6. And then over -5 to 3 is 8. So if I do that exact same thing and I go down 6 and over 8, where would I be at? Well, if I go down 6 from -3, that's going to take me to -3. Oh, remember that's my y's. Up and down is y's. And if I go, I messed that up. I apologize. We got to do our y's. From 1, if I go down 6, I'm going to be at -5. From 1, remember y here. And if I go over from 3 and I go over 8 more, that's going to put me at. That will not be on the test. You won't have to do that, but if it's on the test, it'll be bonus. Okay, it says part B, if 1 unit on the grid is equivalent to 50 meters, how far is the high school from town hall? Okay, how far? What formula do you think we're going to use? Okay, what does that give us? What does that formula give us? Right. Oh, is distance, so find the, um, oh, sorry. Yes. So when it said how far, that means distance. So we're going to use that big square root one.